Good morning, and welcome to the virtual worship service of the Unitarian Universalist Meeting House of Provincetown. I am Reverend Kate Wilkinson, and I am so glad that you have joined us today. You know, we are constantly busy behind the scenes trying to figure out ways for us to remain connected while our building is closed. We long to be together, but our priority is keeping everyone safe. One of the things that I have always loved about this congregation is how deeply you participate in ritual. This is part of what has made us a good match, I think, because I also love ritual. At this time of year, Unitarian Universalists all over the country mark the beginning of a new school and church year with the ritual of water communion. This celebration has deep roots in our faith tradition, and the water that we collect becomes our holy water for the coming year. I'm excited that our worship committee has helped me to come up with a way for us to safely lead this ritual in person. On Tuesday, from 3 to 5 p.m., members of the worship committee and I will be camped out in the parking lot at Beach Forest here in Provincetown to collect and bless our community's gathered waters. If you can, please join us by driving through anytime between 3 and 5, bringing with you a small amount of water to add to our communal vessel. In turn, we will give you a small vial of last year's water, already blessed, which you can use in upcoming rituals this fall and winter. We will be filming you as you pour your water, and it will all become part of our online water communion service next Sunday. And if you can't make it to Beach Forest on Tuesday, please send us a picture of yourself with your water, and we will be sure to include that too. So yes, we are thinking outside the box about ways to stay connected. And you know what? Alongside the new ways, the drive-by rituals and the Zoom coffee hours, we also have some pretty old ways to stay connected that are also special and meaningful, like the mail. Today's service is an ode to the post office. And if you come to Beach Forest on Tuesday, you will also receive a stamped postcard ready for you to send to someone else in our congregation who would love to hear from you. It's a small and mighty way to stay connected, and it also supports our United States Postal Service. And of course, one way that we stay connected each week is for you to light a candle at home now while I light our chalice here at the meeting house.
Hi everybody, this is Keith. I'm doing a chalice lighting this week. Gathering in Our Own Spaces by Jeff May. Come, gather, not into a common space, sharing a physical closeness we long for, precluded by wise choice, but come, gather into this common time and a common space. We need to be together. We yearn for connection. We hunger for the familiar faces of friends, the sound of shared voices proclaiming who we are, where we are going, that which resonates with our hopes, our dreams, our values. Come, gather. We are here in this space, made of all spaces, and we share our becoming in this moment. Have a nice day.
This is a prayer for the post office. It is a nonpartisan prayer about something as mundane as mail, as gentle as the swish of a letter falling to the floor by the door. This is a prayer for stamps and stamp collectors, the quietest of hobbies. For pen pals and thank you card writers, for grandparents who always remember your birthday, and love letters from the war kept at the bottom of a drawer. This is a prayer for the quiet dignity of the blue mailbox, standing like a sentinel on the corner, portal to anywhere, for just the cost of a stamp. Walking to the mailbox down the block and around the corner was my daughter's first independent adventure, the responsibility of an envelope addressed and ready in her small, serious hand, her nervous departure from the front door, alone, and her triumphant return minutes later. "I did it, Mama! I mailed the letter all by myself." Do you remember the wonder of it? Dropping a letter in one place, mouth of the box swinging open and shut, eating the envelope like Cookie Monster, only to have that same letter reappear days later in another place. It's a mundane miracle. When I was a teenager learning how to drive, my mother set up garbage cans in front of our house so I could practice parallel parking. Our mailman, swinging by from house to house, stopped with a big smile to shout, "Turn the wheel! Cut it hard! That's right! Now straighten it out!" His brown arm waving in circles as we both grinned with the joy of it. A simple thing, feeling like part of something. A community, maybe, where mail carriers and teenage drivers were all part of the same world. I remember how quickly he would run up and down the front steps every day, even in the hot and humid summer. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. This is a prayer for the carriers on their routes, the clerk at the window, the backroom sorters and the delivery truck drivers, moving mountains one piece at a time, passing along that which was entrusted to them. Electric bills, bank statements, birthday cards, ballots. Hear us, God of the taken-for-granted things, divine mystery of overnight delivery, spirit of civic life. May we preserve this minor magic of letter and stamp, scale and package, sorting machine and postbox, so that our children do not shake their heads and wonder at all the things we allowed to slip away. Amen.
I love to get mail, don't you? This week I got 2 pieces of mail from you watching at home that really made me smile. One was a package addressed to my cat, Millie. It contained a hilarious cat toy that resembles a certain political figure who shall not be named. The other was a letter from a young woman who has just gone off to college for her freshman year. I had written a letter to her the week before she left, and I was so touched to get a letter from her in return. Writing her a letter with whatever advice and encouragement I thought an 18-year-old might need to hear, and getting her letter in return reminded me of the letters that my grandfather sent to my mother when she was in college. He was a beautiful writer. And remember, this was all well before email and text messaging. Students didn't have a phone in their room, never mind their pocket. So writing letters was the way that people kept in touch, provided support, and gave advice. Here is what my grandfather wrote to my mother. Dear Lynn, your letter came today with its evidence of mixed emotions, happiness, disappointment, love, and discouragement. Did you know that you wrote all those things? Let's look at happiness. Walk outside sometime just before dawn. You may feel like the cold, dark world is closing in on you. The little noises sound big, like the meanness of small people. As you walk, your mind dispels these miseries, and you start to hope for light and warmth. This hope gives you strength to almost enjoy the dark and cold as you eagerly watch for that thin silver line in the east. When it appears, you almost run to it as it broadens and suddenly bursts forth in happy radiance, warming all that will accept it and silencing all the mean little noises. This the entire world experiences once in every 24 hours. This all humans having the love of life and belief in God experience many times in their stay among the creatures of the earth. The dawn of each new day brings light, life, and happiness to someone. We all have our turn, not just once, but many times, because God's love is big enough for everyone. Our love must be big enough to accept the sadness, fear, and despair of the pre-dawn, and it must also be big enough to accept the love, warmth, and happiness that follows the darkness in the breaking day. We cannot rely on the dawn of a single day to keep us in perpetual happiness. Rather, we must look to each dawn of experience to bring new happiness. Yesterday's happiness can only be talked about. It cannot be relived. Yesterday's unhappiness cannot affect today's dawn unless we ourselves take it with us into the light of the new day. Let me be the water boy on your team, Lynn. And if I can in any way refresh you after a long, hard game, I'll be sitting on the bench at your service. I take pride in being your father. Love, Daddy. Isn't that beautiful? I'm so glad that my mother saved that letter and that she has shared it with me. I reread it all the time. I also keep letters from my parents, from friends, from old teachers, from you. They help me feel connected, not just to the people who wrote them, but to my former self, the one who opened the letter all those years ago. Letters bring the memories of that time flooding back, connecting me to the past in a visceral way. Do you have any letters saved? Love letters, maybe? Or birthday cards? Mail that you just can't bring yourself to throw away? Who do you feel connected to through those letters? I'm sure that you are familiar with the famous line about the United States Post Office carriers. Neither snow, nor rain, nor heat, nor gloom of night stays these couriers from the swift completion of their appointed rounds. But there is also another unofficial creed of the Postal Service, written by Charles Eliot in the late 1800s and engraved in white granite at the post office in Washington, D.C. Creed of the Postal Service. Messenger of sympathy and love, servant of parted friends, consoler of the lonely, bond of the scattered family, enlarger of the common life, carrier of news and knowledge, instrument of trade and industry, promoter of mutual acquaintance, of peace and goodwill among men and nations. Perhaps we have forgotten all the functions of the Postal Service and the men and women who daily transport and carry and sort and deliver our mail. 472.1 million pieces of it every day. It's not a business, it is a service. And the service goes deeper into our identity as a people than we ever seem to realize. The history of the post office is nothing less than the story of America, says Winifred Gallagher in the opening lines of her book, How the Post Office Created America. Our mail service, founded by the first Postmaster General, Benjamin Franklin, before the Declaration of Independence was even signed, is based on a radical notion that mail would remain private and secure, and the system would underwrite the dissemination of news to better inform and unite what was then barely a nation. This wasn't just a network for delivering letters, Gallagher reminds us. It was the central nervous system of the new body politic, designed to bind 13 quarrelsome colonies into the United States by delivering news about public affairs to every citizen. A radical idea that appalled Europe's great powers. America's uniquely democratic post powerfully shaped its lively, argumentative culture of uncensored ideas and opinions, and made it the world's information and communication superpower with astonishing speed. The post office created the first roads. The Postal Service transformed a wilderness into a social landscape of post roads and villages centered around post offices. The post was the catalyst of the nation's transportation grid, from the stagecoach lines to the airlines, and the lifeline of the Great Migration from the Atlantic to the Pacific. It enabled America to shift from an agrarian to an industrial economy, and to develop the publishing industry, the consumer culture, and the political party system. Did you know that the postal system was so key to the entire infrastructure of our country? Did you know that today 630,000 people work for the post office? And that for many of those workers, the United States Postal Service has been a gateway to the middle class. That the Post was the first to hire women, African Americans, and other minorities for positions in public life. That it allowed workers with a high school education to purchase homes and envision retirement. That it is one of the only giant national employers that extends health care, pensions, and union protection. Today, during this incredible pandemic, the Postal Service is literally our voice in the upcoming election. 75% of the country is eligible to vote by mail. And yet, the United States Postal Service has warned 46 states and the District of Columbia that it cannot guarantee all mailed ballots will arrive in time to be counted, potentially disenfranchising millions of voters. This is part of an intentional slowdown of the mail for political gain. We cannot let this happen. I thank all of you who turned out last month for protests to protect our postal system. Until recently, I never thought about just how important the post office is. Before, I just thought, it's fun to get mail. I love it when it's cards instead of bills. And it's a social event, going to the post office. It takes all morning here in Provincetown, not because there are lines, but because you run into 3 or 4 people on your way there and 2 more inside. You exchange greetings, news, gossip. In many rural areas, the post office is the town, the only place where people see each other. And for so many elderly people, the postal carrier delivering the mail is the only guaranteed social interaction of the day. Sometimes the mail comes at just the right time. One letter carrier that I read about has saved 3 lives while walking his postal route over the years. He's performed CPR, called 911, and pulled a drowning toddler out of a pool. It's not an uncommon story. Mail carrier saves life. We owe so much to the post office. It's a simple thing, feeling like part of something, a community maybe, a country, where mail carriers and teenage drivers are all part of the same world. Hear us, God of the taken for granted things. May we be grateful for this mundane miracle, this network and system that connects us and holds us together. Messenger of sympathy and love, servant of parted friends, consoler of the lonely, bond of the scattered family, enlarger of the common life, carrier of news and knowledge, instrument of trade and industry, promoter of mutual acquaintance, of peace and goodwill among men and nations. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Just like a dinosaur, and I said, at least I'm not extinct. Then she kissed me the old-fashioned way, and I lay my case down. See, I'm kinda fond of things that are roll like leather books and homemade bread, or my falling apart bicycle that can still get me around. Da-da-day, 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 boo-boo-doo, yeah, ba-ba-day, da-da-day, da-da-day. Have a point of view about sunshine and fluorescent light, about staring at a screen all day down in a microchip land. And she smiled a gigabyte smile, and then she rushed off in a hurry. So I'm sitting on a hilltop with a pencil in my hand. Da da day, da da day, da da day, da da day, yeah, ba ba day. Piece of the map that gently guides you. Write me a letter on a tablecloth of a greasy spoon. Yeah, write me a letter on a leaf that may float by your window. Write me a letter, and hopefully it'll get here soon. Da da day, da da day, da da day, da da day, boo-boo-doo, yeah, ba ba day, da da day, da da day. Just more convenient to go shopping in your armchair and to drive instead of walk. But then she didn't look too sure, and I said, wrap your arms around me, 'cause it seems like we've been caught up in the web of a very big spider. Come on, kiss a little more. Ra-da-da, ra-da-da, yeah, ba-ba-da, ra-da-da, I like to collect my mail, 'cause I like the smile on the post office lady's face. Cup of joe in my hand as I greet the street, 'cause I like the human race. I like to see ink on paper, I like the sound of scribbling fingertips. Gently turn the page and wonder if it touched your lips. Write me a letter, piece of the map that gently guides you. Write me a letter on a tablecloth of a greasy spoon. Or write me a letter on a leaf that may float by your window. Write me a letter, and hopefully it'll get here soon. Da da day.